So yeah. So I gotta be, I guess, just straightforward. Okay. I've done this a number of times. I've hit on certain points here or there. Um, I'm just gonna be straightforward, dude. Like it has to be done. I know a lot of people don't really understand a lot of things. I know a lot of people have really been manipulated. Um, I understand how social engineering works. I've studied it. I've studied the history of it. I understand how propaganda works. I understand. I made videos explaining the process. So I understand that a lot of people have been manipulated. I mean, I'm not surprised by this. I'm not surprised that a lot of young people hold certain opinions that really, I know really they haven't thought through, but more so, have been, suggested to them, and just, people have just adopted them out of the way that they were presented. I understand this. I understand how propaganda works. I'm telling you, I understand this. I studied the history of it. I actually love the history of it. Actually, one of my favorite people in history is Edward Bernays, just for his cleverness. You know what I mean? And he's kind of referred to as the father of public relations. He popularized a lot of ideas, ways of uh, manipulating entire populations to behave in certain ways. He's not a stupid person. He wasn't a stupid person, and he wrote books explaining his methods, and that is a whole uh, field of you know work. It's a whole thing. Propagandist, social engineering, manipulating people. In business they call it just advertising. There's certain campaigns that are um, taken on by certain companies to get people one way or another to buy their products. You know what I mean? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the tactics are better than others, but it can also be used to sell people on behavioral patterns. It doesn't have to be a product necessarily. It can be a culture with certain behaviors, kind of implied therein. Um, they can be political ideas, um, that kind of, in one way or another, are what maybe the manipulators want people to think is good. You know what I mean? Um, that's just how this manipulation goes. It's how it goes. People need to understand that. If people did understand that, I think they would be a lot less, vulnerable to that type of manipulation. But a lot of people don't even know that exists. So anyway, my point is, there's a lot of um, manipulation for one. Two, there's a lot of ideas that are currently going around that are totally stupid. That are these type of ideas that have been sold to people. Under a certain pretense. You might say contrived context. That makes things just sound good. It's the art of framing something in a certain context that makes something sound good. Pretty much. I think generally, unless people just have good sense, anything can be framed in a certain way, and a lot of times even just with outright lies and people might think that, whatever it is that's being framed a certain way is a good thing when really it can be bad. Um, but yeah, there's definitely political ideas that are being sold, especially to young people, um, with propaganda, like I said, under certain pretense, with a specific context built around them, like a specific narrative built around them. Um, and then other ideas are being kind of demonized, being called this or that, or racist, or bigoted, or sexist, or this or that, or this or that, or this or that, or this or that. And it's all, like I said, part of social engineering. And the social engineers have a plan. The people who are really, really going at it, that run the media, that have those tools at their disposal to be able to manipulate culture, so on and so forth, they have their own agenda. And their agenda, generally speaking, is control. That is what they are after. And, it's a powerful position to be able to manipulate an entire culture and thus manipulate the behavior of, you know, millions of people, literally, if not billions. That's already a powerful position. That's a position of influence. And obviously, influence is a powerful thing, especially when it's on that level. Um, but more so, once you have that influence, you can direct behavior in certain ways, um, to maybe further, you know, I guess, just, enable your own, you know, influence, I guess. Um, I'll just give an example. Like, let's say, like, war, okay? War is a great example because let's just go to the war in Iraq when George Bush was president. He said, weapons of mass destruction, we got to go over to Iraq and invade over there to make sure that those weapons of mass destruction don't get used against Americans. And sure enough, they went there, invaded, and it turns out, oh, never mind, there was no weapons of mass destruction. They were so sure, but no. The real obvious story is that they just made up a context and ran with it. It was straight up a lie, and that's what I'm saying. They just made up a context, and they do it all the time. They say America is going around the world to help, uh, spread freedom. It's like, no, they're not, dude. They're going over there for different places for different reasons. Maybe the resource, or maybe they're trying to. Oh, it's probably resource in large part, and that's what I'm saying. Right there, you can, under a false pretense, get people to go to a country, invade that country, take over the government, and then commandeer that resource, and then and then there you go, and then those manipulators have then taken more power. You know what I mean? Or I mean, power, influence. They've conquered even more. You might say. Their dominion has spread, you might say, and that's what's been happening. And that's like the biggest thing right there, is that people are manipulated into doing things under false pretense to really empower the manipulators. That's what's been happening throughout human history for literally like hundreds of years, if not thousands. Maybe all of human history, like the history of all civilization. That's just it. Like, that's like the straightforward way to say it. It's just that people have been manipulated for literally centuries, into doing this or that under false pretense to empower the people that are manipulating them and using them. People will be sent off to war, and some people die, some people get their legs blown off, they get traumatized, they watch their friends die, and the people who sent them there don't care. The people that sent them there under false pretense, they do not care. They say, okay, well, whatever they call them, useful idiots, toy soldiers, whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't have to be literal war. It can be a political ideology, the same way that some people believe that there were weapons of mass destruction and went to Iraq and invaded when there were none. It doesn't have to be literally getting shipped off to go to war. You can still believe a lie, a political ideology, and support a proverbial war. You know what I mean? A war of culture, a war of public policy, like laws being passed, changes occurring in our societal structure. You know, you can be manipulated into supporting some stupid legislation, things like that. You can be manipulated into buying things that empower certain companies that at the end of the day aren't somebody you really should be empowering. You know what I mean? A lot of companies love to just pander to people. They love to do what they think people want them to do to keep up a certain image, and a lot of people fall for it. It's like, but anybody that has any sense can see right through that and say they're pandering. That's not sincere. You know what I mean? And that's what politicians do all day. Politicians all day are fake, and they just sit there and they literally, man. There's a good documentary, you should watch it. It's called The Century of the Self. It was made in like 2002, and it's like a 4-part series, and it goes over the history of kind of how goods were marketed to people, but then eventually how that translated into politics. Politicians literally would hold kind of little group like study groups that kind of like they could ask questions and they would give their opinion, and they try to get a sense of what specifically people wanted policy wise, like what they want to vote for, and they would literally just do whatever they thought that people wanted. They would not have a sincere conviction of what they thought was right, but rather they just pandered to whatever idea they thought would help them win. You know what I mean? And it's a lack of character. It's a lack of personal integrity. It's a matter of literally just putting on some fake facade to appeal, immediately to whatever the changing opinions of people were. But that's the thing too. There is changing opinions, and those opinions can be affected by social engineers, propagandists, manipulators, and that's the power of the press. I'll go to a Malcolm X quote. He said that the media is the most powerful entity on earth because it can make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. It's the same thing. It's basically giving you a false narrative. In any case, painting somebody a certain picture. It's a lie. Framing something in a certain context under a false pretense. It's the same exact thing as saying there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq when there wasn't. You could say that this person's a good person when they're not, or this person's a bad person when they're not. You know what I mean? It's all the same thing. It's all just lies, manipulation, and you got to be smart to be able to see through it. You have to have good sense to be able to see that. It's really like a matter of street smarts. Like, some people are really naive, and like there'll be a manipulative person that can fully take advantage of them. On the other hand, there's street smart people that say, nope, that person is just sucking up, pandering, it's fake. Real people can see that. You know what I mean? People with good sense can see that type of fake stuff. A lot of people are very naive. And I've seen this in just my personal life, but I've been seeing it on a collective level with people being manipulated, like on a massive level. Like I said, social engineering type level. Young people, naive people, supporting silly ideas that just are that barely make any sense. A lot of people see immediate positive consequences, but they fail to see second order consequences that could be negative. Second or even third order consequences, long term consequences that could be negative. There could be an immediate positive, like a piece of cheese on a mousetrap. Okay, immediate positive is you're gonna get some cheese, but the second order consequence is boom, you're getting trapped and you're dead. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what it is. It's just like that. It's like a trap. That's another um, analogy we can use. You just look at like, I don't know, hunting. If you're hunting, you get the false impression that everything's all good, that nobody's around, and you let the prey feel like it's safe and comfortable as it comes into your line of sight, and then you have a perfectly good shot, and out of nowhere, while you're tricking the prey into thinking it's a good situation, it's all good, and there's no danger. That's when you ambush. That's when you strike. It's the same thing. It's lulling people into danger, into dangerous territory. And I mean that's just like nature right there. It's predators understand that game. Predators hunt. Predators understand. Predators are usually smarter than prey because, for one, they hunt, and so they know the game. Two, because they hunt and know the game, they usually look out for the same type of traps that they may have set themselves. You know what I mean? And it's really like a food chain type thing. It's you just gotta be smart. You don't want to be prey. You want to be predator. We're supposed to be on top of the food chain. I mean, I've talked about this before. But yeah, man, I really haven't even gotten into any specific concepts, like any specific political points or anything like that. It's just a general thing to look out for. The manipulation, it is there 100%. I mean, it's there with companies, businesses. They want to sell you products. We know that. You don't even question it. You say, okay, yeah, I know. That's their job. They're trying to sell products. The same thing exists with political ideology. The same thing exists with culture, which is basically selling you certain behavioral patterns. That certain people want you to adopt for one reason or another. Just ideologies. You know what I mean? They want to sell you on false ideals, just lies. They wanted to sell you on the idea that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction when it didn't, just so you would support a war, that they wanted for their own reasons. It wasn't for freedom of Iraqis. It was for probably resource. They love to go to these other countries, put in their fake democracies that they control, so that they can run the political happenings over there and basically just have control over resource. It's been happening for a long time throughout human history. I mean, if that's just literally how people are governed. Like that's the difference between the highest people in society versus the lowest. The highest people understand this, and they know, and then they play that game. They know how to manipulate, create, I guess, like public consent. You know what I mean? And the lowest people are just silly, easy to manipulate people. It's like predator versus prey. It's the same type of food chain that exists in nature between different animals. It just exists within the human spectrum. And I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to put y'all on to like some good stuff. You know what I mean? Like, dang, I mean, I can only do so much if people don't listen. I've talked about this a lot of times. I really have. I've mentioned it over and over, and sometimes people just really don't get it, and I'm just like, dang. And I see it, and really, people can be dangerous when they're brainwashed. They can be dangerous. They can be brainwashed into literally going to war with some totally innocent people, minding their business, but they were taught some lie and they believe it, and that's not good. You know what I mean? Like that's bad mojo. So I'm aware of this. I'm aware of how this works. And really, I guess I'm just trying to shed some light on it. You know what I mean? Help people see what's going on, because a lot of people really seem naive, and it's just like, dude, y'all ain't supposed to be that easy to manipulate. That's dangerous when people can be manipulated on that level. It's a powerful thing if you're able to manipulate so many people on that level. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, that's the. Sorry, I'm looking at my app and actually trying to do something right now. But yeah, man, it's simple stuff. I mean, I hope people understand. It's not a hard concept. I could talk about specifics, but it's just like all day I see it, just manipulation. And sometimes I call people stupid. I say it all the time on like Twitter. I'm just always like just saying, "Oh my gosh, people are like idiots." Like, and this is why, because I see how easily they're manipulated. I'm just like, people, wake up to it. Please see what is going on. Like, how you being used, how you being manipulated. There's so many levels of manipulation with different people. Um, with different types of manipulation. It's just like, for real, people gotta get it, man. People have to understand. People have to not be manipulated, not used. I don't even want to talk about this anymore. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I just hope you understand. That's really all I have to say about it. So, just so many propaganda campaigns, just brainwashing kids, and kids are naive and they really believe that shit. They're just brainwashed kids. They don't even get it. It's so dumb. Countries have been like conquered like that. You know what I mean? Like just brainwashing the youth, and the youth just being supporting some stupid ideology that later they figure out is wrong. And it's just like literally like China, like Mao. There was I think it was called the Red Guard or something like that. Like it was brainwashed kids that like literally were just believing some bullshit idealism of communism and ended up being stupid. And man, people are just it's sometimes it's fatal, man. You're tricked, you're trapped, you're tricked into biting the bait, and you fall into the trap, and it's game over. It's literally end of it can be your death personally, it can be just stuck, trapped, you know what I mean? It can be literally like uh, if you're hunting as well, a lot of hunters use traps. It's the same thing. It can literally be a number of types. I mean, just it's the same thing. You're lulled into falsely believing that something's a good idea. Oh, let's go eat this food. Boom, trapped. Game over. Dead. Like I said, you see the immediate positive, but you don't see the secondary, uh, you know, negative. You know what I mean? And you just get trapped. You get fucking trapped. It's just his nature. I mean, that's how people are manipulated. They're manipulated because they're naive and careless and lack good sense. If people really were like hunters themselves, they would, like I said, know the tricks of the trade, and understand this conceptually, and be smart enough to keep their eyes out for certain types of manipulation that they already know exist because they do it themselves. It's the same type of thing. You have to be wise. You have to be keen. You have to see what's going on. You can't just be careless and naive. The world's not easy like that. This world has a food chain. It's you know certain animals kill other animals and eat them to survive. I mean, that is nature. I mean, if you are just naive and careless, chances are you are an easy target, to be taken advantage of. You are food, probably. You're gonna end up being prey. I mean, that's the difference between prey and predator. Predators are smart. Prey is stupid. The easier you are as a target, the more likely it is you're gonna get eaten on, just devoured. You know what I mean? So keep your eyes open. Be smart. Quit falling for stupid shit. Be smart. Quit falling for stupid shit. That's all I have to say. I'm gonna leave it at that, and hope you understand. I'll talk to you later. I'm out. Peace.